For everybody on this call, pay close attention. There is going to be a certain point in your own health and fitness journey where you hit a stall or a plateau. Mike, when did you get started with Heartletics?
2022,
And back then, how much did you weigh?
240-ish pounds,
And how much do you currently weigh right now?
170,
And did you ever hit a stall or a plateau in the midst of that time frame?
many times.
Yeah?
Yeah,
And it's frustrating, correct?
absolutely.
Okay. So, guys, the only reason I'm saying that is because fat loss isn't linear, right? It's good to know your trends, how your body fat works, right? Some people, they'll start losing body fat for a couple weeks and then they'll hit a little stall, hit a little hiccup, and then we make some adjustments and then continue on that progression. But with anybody, right? Like you're going to hit a significant stall where you just can't cut back any more calories. Because the reality is, 9 out of 10 guys that sign up for our coaching program, and Mike, maybe you can relate to this as well. Okay. Most of the time, when guys sign up for Heartletics, it is because they don't know how to eat properly. They believe it's all calories in versus calories out. They believe it's cut out the carbohydrates, stop drinking alcohol, sugar is the enemy, and if you even look at a donut, you're gonna go to hell pretty much, right? Like it's crazy what you hear out there these days. But 9 out of 10 guys that sign up for our coaching program, we start giving them food, right? Food that fuels their body. And that's the first mindset shift that we all need to make is food equals fuel. But what happens is their body actually gets out of that starvation mode and they start losing body fat. Mike, when you first got started, was that similar to you? You started eating way more food?
Uh, Raising my hand, that was definitely me.
Yeah. And so the reason being, guys, and this analogy should surely help you guys out, okay, is think about this glass right here. Now, with this glass, let's just consider the glass, Mike, your body. And let's just say the liquids that's inside of the glass is your body fat. Now, what you hear a lot is calories in versus calories out. So, what does that mean? Hey, let's not eat food, right? Let's have this unhealthy relationship with food. And once again, you look at a donut, you're doomed, right? Carbs are the enemy, sugar's bad for you, alcohol, you're going to store all this body fat. Can't eat past 8 o'clock, all the things out there, that's nonsense. But we believe all that and we try all that until we get professional help. But in the midst of us trying that, is that we start going into this rapidly low deficit. And that's what I want to explain here for you guys because this is really going to help you out. And then once you understand that, hey, when you do hit a certain point where you can't lose any more body fat because you can't go any more lower on the calories, what adjustments to make next? That's really going to be the light bulb switch for everybody, okay? So pay close attention. There is only two ways for anybody to store body fat. Okay, so Mike, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand this one. If I had another glass here and I poured in more liquids, what would eventually happen?
An overflow.
It would overflow, right? And that means us eating way too much food. But on the flip side, being in a surplus is not necessarily a bad thing. So going back to this cup, right? The cup is the body. The liquids inside is the body fat. Now, right here, guys, in the middle of the glass, this is what's called a calorie maintenance. You're not gaining weight nor losing weight. Don't think that you gaining weight is a bad thing. Everybody thinks that's horrible, right? But Mike, does muscle weigh more than fat?
Sure does.
If you're 75 years old, right, would you want to have some muscle if you happen to fall down the stairs rather than be skin and bones or just a whole bunch of fat on you?
Muscle is armor, baby.
Exactly. Exactly. Man, Mike, you should just take this seat, man. Be the host. So, guys, once again, gaining weight's not a bad thing. Okay. And I need to make that very clear because when you're in your maintenance and you're eating, right, you could go all the way to the top of the glass. Now, the top of the glass from the middle, that's called a calorie surplus. And once again, that is not a bad thing by any means because you could be putting on muscle. Okay. It's only when you're overeating is when you're storing body fat. But now going on the opposite, okay? Going from the middle of the glass all the way down to the bottom of the glass, that is the deficit. That's prime for losing body fat. But once again, 9 out of 10 guys, they'll try all these different things the ketos, the fastings, the paleos, the cabbage soup diets, whatever it is that you want to call it. And next thing you know, they're all the way down here. This is how you also store body fat. No one else is going to teach you guys this, but here right now. If you are way under eating, you're going to be storing body fat. Mike, do you know why?
Body's in survival mode.
Yeah, your body's in survival mode, right? You're not actually giving your body enough of the right food, right? Which is the macros, the micros, to actually maintain its muscle. So I always tell everybody this is a fat loss coaching program. And everybody's like, I want to lose weight. Losing weight's great if you're losing body fat. But if you're cutting out your carbohydrates, you're losing water weight, aka glycogen that gets stored within the muscles. If you guys don't believe me, Mike, what happens if I, am just my son drops into, a pool next to me and I have to dive in with all my clothes and I have my phone in my pocket, right, to save his life? What should I do with my phone to get it working again?
Put it in some rice.
Put in some rice, exactly, because that rice is going to absorb the water, right, out of the phone so it can start working again. It's a simple thing of, hey, you guys take a bowl of dry oats, put in some, milk or some water, let it just sit there, and those oats are going to absorb the water. So once again, like cutting out your, carbohydrates, you're mainly just losing the glycogen, and you guys need that, right? Especially if you want to be putting on muscle. If let's just say once again we're not eating enough, we could be losing muscle. So once again, staying within a calorie deficit is prime, but we want to make sure we're primarily losing body fat, okay? So once again, there's two areas here to store body fat. Overeating, right, which is very rare because most guys are doing this. They're doing all these crash diets, fad diets, restrictions, and they're under eating and they're losing their muscle. And that's what slows down their metabolism. And so now we're going to talk about is what do we do if let's just say, hey, we're properly eating again, right? We have rebuilt our metabolism up to speed. We're losing body fat. We're building muscle. We're looking good. We're feeling good. But in the midst of us hitting these small little stalls or plateaus, we got to make some adjustments. And there's two adjustments that you guys can always make. The first one is the training, which I highly recommend. And the second one is nutrition, which I'm going to talk about next. So remember, going off of calories in versus calories out, I think that's a bad analogy to think about. I think more about like how do we utilize energy expenditure. So if I'm walking, kind of like how Mike is right now on his walking pad, right? He's walking, he's utilizing energy. He's burning calories as he's walking. So that's the first thing that we should always make sure that we're doing in the midst of us trying to get out of a stall is can we just look for data points in terms of what are we currently doing right now? Can we work out another day? Can we go for more walks? Can we not be so sedentary? Can we eat more protein? Different things like that where we're not cutting away the calories. That's always last when it comes to making adjustments if we're ever hitting this stall, okay? So focus on the training first. Now, there's going to come a certain point with that where maybe we can't work out another day because it's not sustainable for our schedule, okay? Maybe we can't continue to move even more because we're moving 24/7. Maybe we can't continue to do all this because once again, it's not suitable for our lifestyle. Then we have to go to the nutrition. And for nutrition, guys, it's very simple. The first adjustment, see if you can just eat more protein. I already mentioned it over here, but see if you can just eat more protein. Mike, why should we be eating more protein?
Protein takes more energy to metabolize.
Yep. It's higher up on the thermic effect of food. Your body needs the protein to burn body fat, but also to build that lean muscle, which we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. Now, if let's just say you can't go any more on the protein, then it's a certain threshold where it's like, okay, let's start cutting back on the calories. Now, Mike, if let's just say we're cutting back on the calories week over week, do you think eventually we're going to hit a stall where it's like, hey, we can't go lower than 1,500 calories? It's just not sustainable for us anymore. Like, we're not fueling our body enough to maintain that muscle, as I talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now this is where, guys, we need to talk about this how to put on muscle and why it's important. Because once again, gaining weight could be a form of gaining muscle. John, I love it, brother. I saw that, man. I saw those gun show over there. So this is what I want everybody to think about. Okay, going back to this analogy, and let me make myself a little bit bigger. Perfect. Okay. So, guys, going back to this, the cup, this is your body. The liquids, that's the body fat. Mike, we already talked about how we can't do anything more, right? We can't walk more, we can't do any more cardio, anything like that to expend that energy, and we can't cut back on the calories anymore, okay? So, Mike, in the simplest term, okay, if I was going to take this and we needed to get the water out, right? But we can't spill it out. If I was going to focus on getting this water, which is the body fat, out of the cup, and I was going to start adding stuff in, what do you think is going to happen?
Water's going to go out.
water is going to go out, right? So we're going to start off right. This little golf ball that I got, throw that in there, right? You can see that it elevated, okay? Now, my son's little toys. This is a little Donkey Kong race car. I'm going to throw that in there. Hopefully it doesn't float. Oh, perfect. Okay. Now we're going to add some more stuff in there, right? And you guys can see here that that water that was all the way down here, just by me adding in stuff into that cup, the water went from here to here. And the more things that we're able to add, obviously, if I had little pebbles, this would make a lot more sense because eventually that water would actually overflow. But I don't. And I didn't have enough time to go outside in the backyard and get some little stones or rocks, nor did I want to make a mess on my desk today. But hopefully, you guys can see and this makes sense. So, Mike, this is what we're going to do. Let's talk about how do we put on that muscle, because that is going to be super helpful for the remainder of this lecture, okay? And let's just go over different ways of progressive overload, okay? So, Mike, right, let's do this. Let's talk about gym and let's talk about if people work out at home with or without equipment, okay? We'll kind of make a blend of the mix, all right? You'll do the gym, I'll do the home stuff. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Perfect. So, in terms of the gym, what is all the ways that somebody can focus on progressive overload so that way they can build more muscle, which is going to equal to fat loss?
Add more weight.
Add more weight, right? In terms of what? Like the exercises that they're doing?
So just, take bench press as an example, 3 sets of whatever, 12 to 15 reps, 15 reps on your first set at 200 pounds. Second set, bump that weight up, drop the reps a little bit. Third set, more weight, minimum range of reps. And that third, those last reps should be to failure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so important. And I'm glad that you said that because it was kind of like a warm-up set, moderate, and then hey, we're going balls to the wall. And obviously tracking in the Heartletics app, right? We can see that data, right? We can see everything when it comes to that progression to make sure that we're actually lifting heavier. Now, Mike, I've been benching since I was 16 years old, okay? And if somebody was just going to add weight every single week, right? So like I don't even know how many years that would be, right? In terms of me benching or how many weeks I should say. And if I was just going to add, let's say 5 pounds, right? I would probably be realistically benching like 3,000 pounds by now. I'm not, right? Like
Not gonna
315 on a
happen.
good day, you
Right.
know? So, what eventually happens, right? And this is going to be the second form of progressive overload that you need guys all need to understand. What's going to eventually happen if we cannot lift any more weight? Because we hit a stall, right? We're not superhuman.
Yeah. More reps.
More reps. Perfect, right? So, guys, just because you can't lift anymore and you're not hitting those PRs in terms of like lifting more weight, you can always hit a PR in terms of doing more repetition, okay? Now, Mike, is there another one that we can focus on also in terms of at the gym?
Less rest time in between sets.
Beautiful, beautiful, right? So less rest time. So most of you guys on your program, right, it's always going to say, rest anywhere from 30 to 90 seconds. And if you're going super heavy, right, take the full rest interval, right, 90 seconds. But if let's just say, hey, you want to get in and get out, right, you want to focus on maybe not lifting heavy, but another form of progressive overload, rest 30 to 45 seconds in between. You're going to get more of a endurance type of workout, which is once again still beneficial, okay? Now, there is another way, right, when it comes to working out in the gym. And Mike, maybe you're doing a few of these with your buddies, and that's the supersets, right?
Supersets, drop sets.
Yeah, explain that a
Yeah.
little bit more if you don't mind.
So supersets are, multiple exercises that you're doing your reps of in sequence with no rest in between. So as an example, this morning I did dumbbell bench press, flat bench press, right into barrel press.
Yeah, yeah. So you're going from one exercise to another, and that could be the same exercise, excuse me, the same muscle groups. That could be different muscle groups. That could be whatever you guys want, but you're pretty much just going from one exercise to another, no rest, just like what Mike talked about. Now, what about drop sets?
So drop sets are, you're kind of reversing what we were talking about earlier with adding weight. You're going to
Mhm.
start in your first sets with the higher weight and remove weight as you're going between sets, but there's no rest in between sets.
That's right. So the whole purpose, guys, in terms of you either focusing on lifting heavy, like what Mike talked about the very first time with progressive overload, or doing more reps, or drop sets, supersets, or smaller rest or little to no rest, what it's doing, guys, is fatiguing the muscle. Okay. Um, there's a 5 pound weight right here. Okay. Mike, if I started curling this when I was 15 years old, right, it might have been hard, right? But let's just say I always did 3 sets of 10 with this 5 pound weight until right now when I'm 32 years old. Do you think I would grow at all my bicep?
Today, no, you're not putting any stress on that muscle at all.
Exactly. Right. And guys, that's the importance of, once again, the progressive overload, the focusing on different ways to train your body. So that way, once again, you're always progressing. Progression over perfection. That's the key. But when it comes to the weight room, when it comes to workouts at home, we got to be mindful of that. So that way, once again, our body isn't adapting. It's kind of like what Albert Einstein once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results. That is so key. And it's key because if you think about it, we talked earlier about nutrition. Eventually, you're going to hit a stall. It doesn't matter what diet you do, right? That's why I don't believe in diets because regardless of what you do, you will eventually adapt. Your body's a machine. It will. Like if you threw me into a desert island, whatever the case may be, right? Like, and it's fight for survival. I'm going to have to learn how to adapt. My body's going to learn how to adapt. That's just how our bodies are wired, plain and simple, okay? It's the same thing with the nutrition. We got to make adjustments. It's the same thing with our training. We got to make adjustments, right? We can't be doing the same things over and over again, or else we're never going to see results. And now, when it comes to working out at home, if you have equipment at home, same thing applies. Everything that what Mike just talked about. But if you don't, and let's just say you're doing body weight exercises or doing kind of circuits or anything in terms of that, focus on just doing as many reps as you can. That's it. If you can get creative with it, then get creative with it. And what do I mean by that? Well, maybe we're starting off doing push-ups like this, and eventually we're doing push-ups wide grip. Or in John's case, right? John likes to do push-ups with his feet on a bench doing the incline, making it really hard, right? Which is good, right? Working your shoulders more, working your triceps more, right? So there's always different ways to focus on skinning a cat differently. And then I would say second is just taking off, right? Once again, some of those rest times, whether it's just cutting it down in the circuits, whether it's doing something in replace, or whether it's just no rest times at all. Okay. So once again, the name of the game for all of this is on your fat loss journey, you will eventually hit a stall. Everybody always does, but it's learning how to pivot. It's not just understanding like, hey, we're in this program to lose weight and continue to lose weight week over week. It doesn't work like that at all. Okay. Now, the caveat to all this is the mindset shift, right? And this is so important for everybody to understand. And I already asked Mike a question, but I just want you guys to think about this, okay? Fast forward to where you are today and maybe add another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever the case may be. And there's three different versions of yourself. One version of you, right? Let's just say they have no muscle at all, they're skin and bones. The second version of you, they're overweight. They have like very little more muscle, but a lot of body fat. And then the third version of you, this is you where you have muscle. This is you where you have less body fat. This is you where you look and feel good, even in your 70s, even in your 80s, whatever the case may be. Now just imagine like the quality of life at that point. Is it like, okay, hey, which version, and Mike, I'll ask you this, right? Out of those three, scenarios, version one, two, or three, do you think version, three, the guy with the muscle, do you think they're going to be walking around with a cane or a walker or in a wheelchair?
Despite any other medical issues, no.
True, true, exactly. And that's simply because they have the muscle. Now, muscle is armor, just like what you said, Mike, and I love what you said because for several reasons. One, it strengthens our core, right? A lot of people that have walkers or canes, they don't have that core strength, right? And they're hunched over because your core is not just your abdominal wall, your core goes around your lower lumbar as well, right? So it makes the posture nice and straight, nice and firm, okay? But also, just like what Mike said about the armor, in case you happen to fall or stumble or anything like that, right? I see so many people and hear so many horror stories of people just, hey, they're elderly and they fall down the stairs. They what? They break their hips, they break their knees, they break their, elbows, whatever the case may be, their shoulders. And it's because they're kind of brittle, you know? So it's just like one of these things where we got to take in consideration, guys. Like, this is the whole importance of investing into your health each and every day, and you have that opportunity by eating healthy, by going to the gym and by making sure that you're focusing on obviously the right habits, but also your mindset as well. You know, it doesn't have to be hard. Mike, in this coaching program, have you ever done backflips and burpees?
Well, burpees, yes, but backflips, no.
You've done burpees because we did a burpee challenge. A little bit
Yes.
different.
No, as a requirement, no.
But have I ever asked you to do anything that was not sustainable or asked you to do anything crazy that go against either your routine, your habits, your lifestyle, anything like that?
Not at all.
Okay. And guys, it's the same thing for all you guys on this program. Okay. This fat loss journey isn't just about losing body fat, it is about becoming the best version of yourself. And when you're able to look good and feel good, you gain more confidence. And like that confidence isn't just once again about yourself and your physique. That confidence is more so about your mindset. And when you have a sharper mindset and you have more, gained knowledge and you have more gained confidence, hey, you're able to do a lot more fun things. You're able to step outside of your comfort zone. But the best part in all of this is you're gaining the tools, right? Give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man how to fish, feed him for the rest of his life. Has anybody, and just show of hands, has anybody gained any knowledge from inside this coaching program where they can then teach it to their friends, their family? Maybe that's about protein, maybe that's about working out. Bunch of guys. I love it, right? And that's what it's all about. Long story short, that is the heart that's in Heartletics. Become the best version of yourself so that way, once again, you can pour more out into others.